Welcome to the CLAWS YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
A very good morning, sirs. Welcome to the special edition of the CLAWS Podcast Strategic Frontlines. I'm Arushi Anthal, Research Assistant, Center for Land Warfare Studies. And today we talk about the US-Iran agreement that is happening. So as we talk about the US-Iran move towards a formal talk on the agreement, we at CLAWS are examining how this interim agreement and potential implications for regional stability and India's strategic interests. So joining us today, we have Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh, PVSM, AVSM, retired Director General CLAWS, and we have with us Mr. Sree Iyer, sir, an inventor, innovator, founder of PGurus. He's a strategic analyst, and without any further ado, thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let us dive right in. First, I would like to start by asking the US-Iran deal. It is signed virtually on Wednesday, and there are formal talks on the agreement as well. It would happen when we upload the podcast. So, this US-Iran agreement includes a 60-day ceasefire, as you see, reopening of Strait of Hormuz. It requires commitments with respect to Iran's nuclear program. How do you assess its structural durability? Do you look at it, sir?
This is a Memorandum of Understanding that got signed, but there are still some more wrinkles being worked out, and that was supposed to have been formally done on the 19th in Geneva. Then what happened was there was an attack by Israel on Lebanon, and the Iranian delegation said, no, we are not going. And now J.D. Vance was about to set on a plane to go to Geneva, the Vice President of the United States. He also said that I'm going to wait until I know the other team is on board to go to Geneva. So this is the start-stop thing. MOU is more like a general guidelines under which they are going to negotiate more specifics. This is not an easy out for US. Even if it says that we are going to pull back all our fleet and everything, they can't afford to do so. The simple reason for that is that Iran could still go and take out a lot of the smaller republics who are all got some agreements with US. So that this is where I'll just tell you start here at this point of time. So it's more like a guidelines, and this is going to be routinely broken. How well they're going to ride this is where it's going to depend on. But I have a feeling there's a surprise. Trump always has a trump card, and I'll give you what it might be a little bit later down in the conversation.
Sure, sir. General Dushyant, would you like to add something with respect to the enforcement mechanisms in this? How it is going to go about?
Look, like Mr. Iyer has said, that it's an MOU and it is still getting formalized or getting firmed in, and he's already quoted the incident of the Israel's attack on Lebanon. So I always talk of Lebanon as the spark plug in the future for any kind of a relationship which is going to happen between Iran and West Asia and US as well as Iran, as well as Israel. So therefore I am still very hesitant to take a call as to whether this particular deal is going to go through. Sree Iyer ji has said that there is going to be a trump card which Trump might take it out. So I'll be more than willing to hear that trump card. But from an Indian perspective, we need this deal. And the reason for that is that if anyone has actually gone through pangs of pain, it has been the people of India because of this particular Strait of Hormuz impasse. And the earlier a deal comes across, the better it is. I would take it from an Indian perspective as to use it as a tactical means and not as a strategic means. So look at the future tentatively, tactically try to get as much benefit possible out of this based on the current progress in the peace talks. So I would go by that.
Thank you, sir. And I feel just like Sree sir said that, Israel is a very important factor in this. And especially PM Netanyahu recently, what he did was he said that he wouldn't withdraw his troops from southern Lebanon. And yesterday's strike killed about 3 people already. So Israel remains a really significant factor in this, with PM Netanyahu maintaining a very firm stance. So do you see this agreement? How do you expect Israel to respond to this? Like accommodation, or would he counter the agreement?
No, they won't counter the agreement. What I think is going to happen is I just did one conversation with a gentleman called Martin Armstrong. Martin Armstrong wrote a proposal for the Ukraine and Russia peace. Okay. And this is something that landed on Putin's desk, and he actually accepted it in principle.
So I believe it is very close to being signed.
Very close. So that's the trump card. I'll come to the trump card when you ask me that.
Sure,
but let me just tell you what's happening.
So he's already revealed it.
So Israel needs the war because Netanyahu has elections in October. So his elections are coming up before Trump's elections that are coming in November. So he wants the war. Trump wants peace. So you have two people who are completely at opposite objectives here. So how does one bring about a rapprochement? And today, if you see what J.D. Vance said, Vice President, he said, look, 2/3 of the weapons that we gave you have been, given by US, and it has been funded by the American taxpayer. And we are telling you to, have some restraint, and you don't want to listen to us. He's not addressing Netanyahu. He's addressing the Israeli cabinet. See, that's a little bit more serious. It's like, you're collectively being called fools. It's not like, okay, this guy is Joshila, but you see where I'm going with this, right? So why is US doing all these things? Because US has a slightly different game plan in mind, and they want things to be lined up for that. And in fact, even in this, there is another thing that happened from the time Trump returned from China to now. That was like 2-3 weeks. There is something else that took place. So I'm going to, again, this is connecting the dots. So, okay, I'll let you ask the next question.
Sure, sir. So would you like to say something about Israel?
Yeah, so I always consider Israel as the elephant in the room. For any kind of deal, whether it is related to the Iran conflict currently or West Asia. So therefore, managing Israel is a major problem. One thing which I would like to add to what Sree Iyer ji is saying, that within Israel, as far as Iran is concerned, there is unanimity. In the sense that both the opposition and Netanyahu are on one platform as far as the conflict with Iran is concerned, because I was hearing one of the ambassadors of Israel speaking on a platform where he said that if some country threatens us, we believe that he is going to threaten us. So if this is going to be there, and similarly their leader of opposition has said this kind of a statement similar to this, which means that it will be very hard to control Israel, despite the fact that Israel has not been getting the aid from now. It has been getting the US aid from the time it was created. So this is not a new thing, and they have been. Even Biden has actually a number of times he's withdrawn those bomber deals also.
Carrot and stick type.
Yeah. So this is just a carrot and stick kind of a approach which the Americans are doing. In fact, the final statement which Trump gave in the G7 meet was that I would like them to be a little more understanding. And that's a very soft, kind of a speech towards Israel. Indirectly saying that just hold your horses, don't go too overboard on it, but they will revert back to taking their national interest forward, as far as Iran is concerned. With the others, they might be a little more approachful. For example, the Abraham Accords, etc. So they have been accommodative with the West Asian, but with Iran, I have my serious doubts.
So, as of today, the plan is on, and we know that the US and Iran, along with mediators like Pakistan, Qatar, they're somewhere in Bergenstock, Switzerland. They'll be reaching today, and they're talking about implementing this agreement that is already signed virtually. So, how do you see actors like Pakistan, especially expanding their influence throughout this situation, and how do you see countries like Pakistan position themselves in geopolitical atmosphere? For India, it's very important. So, sir, your take.
Pakistan is, I think their best days are over now. Trump somehow felt that he could put Pakistan in between and have them do his bidding. They are a mediator, but they would do what he would want them to do. Like every United States president, Trump has also underestimated the two-bit timing that Pakistan is so well capable of. So the first few rounds went through their hands. Every time what they would do is change some language that is palatable to the side that they are talking to. So slowly what happened is, what was one line started going like this. And then when the first draft was read by both, Trump just tossed it in the dustbin. Then they realized the culprit is Pakistan. So the serious heavy lifting in this deal has been done by Qatar. Not that Qatar is a much better player, but be that as it may, somewhere they are a little bit more used to this kind of stuff. And US has used Qatar in the past, like for example, on arriving an agreement with Afghanistan. So Pakistan now is in deep doo-doo. We just did a program a few hours ago, me and General Dushyant, and I think they're the most significant statement that came out of Vice President J.D. Vance. Because, see, this is J.D. Vance's baby. This accord is J.D. Vance's baby. What Trump, in my opinion, has done is he has two people who could become the successor to him, Rubio or Vance. Of this, very, everybody's sure. These are one of these two is going to become the president if the Republicans come to power. So he has told each one, you do this. If you excel in this, the credit goes to you. Not debit goes to you. Same thing with Rubio also. So J.D. Vance has said, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, that Pakistan has been useless. I mean, he has taken the name out and said it. So after that, Trump isn't saying anything about Asim Munir, his best friend and field marshal and all that stuff. Not only that, here is the other interesting thing. This, I don't know how many of us caught it. In G7, if there is a Modi ji sitting and Trump is sitting, and Trump says that we will come to aid of India as long as he's the PM, he's the leader. That's loaded. That means somewhere US may have gotten some intel that there was a plan being done. I mean, I will be open now. There have been at least 4 or 5 attempts at Prime Minister Modi's life. So that we can have a separate session on these failed attempts. So my point I'm trying to say is, I think US has realized that they need some things happening now, because by 30th June, they're going to do some other big thing. Again, I'm leading you all up to it. Everybody's going to wait till the end of the show.
Sure, sir. I'll ask General Dushyant. Sir, I would like to ask one specific question, especially after Operation Sindoor 2025. We've seen this bonhomie between India and US. And with the respective conflict, US, Pakistan as the mediator of it. Obviously, the talks collapsed. But how do you see it after Operation Sindoor? And I think PM Modi and Trump recently met on the sidelines of G7, as you earlier told. Yeah. So, and this is a meeting, I think, after February 2025.
16 months.
Yes, almost. Sir.
Yeah. So, look, Arushi, I would like to correct you a little bit. Pakistan was never a mediator. They were just a communicators. And that too also they failed miserably, as Sree Iyer ji has pointed out, that communication was also not being given out in a transparent manner. Iran saw it, not only the President Trump, Iran saw it that their things were being communicated in a different way, palatable to Trump or vice versa. So therefore, I don't think they really stood the test of time as far as mediation is concerned. And they were reduced to communicators, and since they had already taken them on board, they didn't want to ditch them. So possibly when Qatar was brought into the scene, Pakistan remained as a sideshow. Let me put it this way. Pakistan remained as a sideshow. And also you must focus on the G7 conference which took place. First of all, let me tell you, Trump did not have a sit-down conference with any leader of G7 or invitees other than Prime Minister Modi. Prime Minister Modi was sitting next to the US President in the roundtable conference. Prime Minister Modi was in the photograph next to the French President Macron. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you that there was something big which the Indians were doing it in a benign manner with Iran, with Russia and US and Israel. Who is closer to Israel? See, Pakistan never communicated with Israel. But India, remember when Prime Minister Modi went to Israel on the 26th of February and 28th of February, this incident, the conflict started. And on the 27th February, Prime Minister Modi told the External Affairs Ministry that tell all Indians from Iran to evacuate. What does that tell you? That probably we are better suited, and probably we have already done our bit in our own ways, smaller ways, to ensure that the current MOU signing India has had a role to play with. And that is what possibly Trump has now realized, and all those sweet statements coming out from the G7 summit. But at the end of the day, I would still say that India has to go forward cautiously, because US has a history, and I would want to repeat that. So we should go cautiously, ensure our national interests are met. It is not a zero-sum game. It's a win-win for everybody. And I think India would do best to go in for that win-win kind of a scenario.
Sure, sir. With the optics all in display during the G7 summit, we now come back and turn our attention closer to India. So with respect to India, India has experienced direct effects of this conflict. So we experienced market volatility, especially the cylinder price rise. It reached every home in India. Shipping disruptions, and the recent is the tragic loss of sailors we had. Do you think India can turn back from something like that, sir?
Oh, absolutely. India's resilience has been always questioned, and India has always come back up trumps. If you permit me, I'll tell you a little bit about the trump that I was telling you about, trump card. So ask yourself this question. What was the oil industry saying? That the prices are going to go up to $160 a barrel. This is the futures, okay? Anytime when we talk about oil prices, viewers, it's about the futures. And everybody said it's going to go to 160, it's going to go to 200. Yet, officially, it never went beyond 100 or 105. And especially after you look at the meeting that transpired between Trump and Xi Jinping, the prices actually stayed more or less stable. It didn't matter what refinery was being taken out on either the Gulf country side or on Iran side. Things have stayed there. Now ask yourself this question: why? Why didn't the prices shoot up? Every time there is a mishap, the prices are going to shoot up because somebody's demand is going to go unanswered. So story is now it's slowly coming out that China agreed that they will stop importing about 20 to 25% because they're stocked up quite a bit. So what happened is prices go up for when demand peaks and supply is not able to keep up. But if demand falls,
the price is almost the same.
Yeah, this price doesn't have room to go up. So looks like that's what happened. And another so essentially what that means is China is more or less taking over managing Iran's affairs. So here is the other interesting tidbit here. China wants everything to go through, in my book, okay, in my opinion, and General Dushyant is a follower of China, he would probably agree or disagree with me. In my book, China has essentially told to United States / Israel, of course, that you take care of these IRGC elements. We will put the political leadership of Iran in front. And whatever money comes in, aid comes in, it will always be directed at the political establishment. In other words, China is also trying to say less of IRGC, more of the political establishment. So this is why I think there's like a silent coup that's in progress. See, Arakchi and Pezeshkian only signed the thing. It was not the IRGC guy. It was not even the Ghalibaf. See, suddenly Ghalibaf's importance has been deflated. So this is one part of the trump card. So the trump card here is that the last thing that US did before, guns went silent was they took out a bunch of along the coast IRGC equipment. So the reason for that is they want this thing to last, and US wants to be confident that once they withdraw, that IRGC will not go back to its old tactics. Because it's a very decentralized command. It's very difficult for them to hold back. This is my read. I defer to journalists.
Yeah.
So do you think India can go back with something like this?
See, as far as Indian position is concerned, for India, it's very clear. We want a stable Iran, whether it is under the current regime or whether it is under a new regime. A new regime will always be favored because a political dispensation is always more strong than a military kind of a dispensation which IRGC represents, right? So we would be supporting this type of a move, whether it is done by China. That's why from my perspective, if Pakistan was involved in some kind of a diplomatic arrangements to mediate for peace, it was okay. It was serving the Indian purpose of ensuring that this particular route gets opened and we are able to get over the problems which you just highlighted. So China, if it is doing something which India wants it, why not? It's a transactional game today. So if in the transaction something is favoring me, I will do it, but I will not compromise on my core interest. What are India's core interest? It is basically boundary and maritime security. On these two issues, India is not going to have any kind of a, I would say, truck with China. But rest of the issues, I mean, today they are the largest trader. If you trading between India and China is one of the largest, or it is the largest. Of course, America has put in a bid for 500 billion trade, but that, as and when it comes, we will see that. So overall, I tend to go with this fact that India will support wherever there is a win for it. So, but the most important thing which I want to highlight here from an Indian perspective is that we want Iran to be on our side. And for that, the main reason is that the Chabahar, where we have invested enough of our money, I think, and besides the economy part of it, the connectivity with Afghanistan, which we have worked so hard to actually make it as a counter to Pakistan, has been lost as of now. That has to be rekindled, and also with this connectivity, we get a connectivity to Central Asian republics as also Russia. So I think for India, howsoever and in however manner it comes, this kind of a truce deal will be okay. My only condition is it should be tactical. I think as of now, it would be foolish for us to go into a strategic kind of a hyperbole, feeling coming into the country that we are now going to be on the upswing. That is not going to happen. It's a chaos there. West Asia today is in a chaos. Chaos has opportunities, but you have to really smell those opportunities. There are opportunities for India. I'm sure we can deliberate upon it in a separate podcast.
So I'm picking your word from transaction, and I'm taking us to the next question, which is that we know the G7 summit and Modi-Trump meet. So, and this is a very big elephant in the room, especially with India-US relations. So we were looking at Indo-US as a strategic partnership. We are strategic partners, and then Operation Sindoor happened, and then Bonhomme between India, Pakistan and US. So do you see it as a phase of closure, or as Sir said, it is more transactional? That is where I pick up his word. Or do you see that should we pursue US with strategic caution as we are doing so, or how do you see it, sir?
So in these kinds of things, the country should look for its own interests. US will look for its interests and India will look for its interests. And what I see is a perceptible change in the United States behavior post the Trump-Xi visit. See, some of the things that are not told, we have to understand why, some things are happening. I think that Rubio has got, he's a Secretary of State. He gets received by some, protocol is a little different from what you are expected to. That sometimes people may feel, why is it that I'm just getting, local administrators coming and receiving me and things like that. But he also played his card. He first goes to a missionary place, which is not exactly known for what it does. It's more for conversion stuff. So US now is beginning to see that there is just no way it can do some of the things it wants to do without India's help. But there will be always people in this Department of State, and I've been saying this for a long time, that there are people who will try to put, some twist to make it look like, let's see if we can pull India down. For example, Indo-Pacific Command became Pacific Command. Somebody would have said, some guy, we don't need Indo. Because everybody is trying to get these pot shots at each other. But let me get back to one small thing. What is also happening, why the US is going to get more and more towards India. This is my prediction. What's happening is that after the meeting with Xi Jinping, I believe, I have to put that, that China refused to relax its restrictions on rare earths use. What they said was, we will give you rare earths, but we need to know where it's being sent. The last user of the rare earths, we need to know that information. US is not going to give that, because F-35s need a lot of rare earths, their Tomahawks need a lot of rare earths, so they won't give that information. So now US is trying to finish up the Ukraine-Russia war, and for that they need to give some decisive blows to Russia. By they I mean Ukraine, I'm not saying anybody else. They gave some decisive blows. Yesterday's was a massive one. In fact, there is one video where you can see the dome of the oil tank just exploding. 500 drones or something like that. And so Russia is actually losing now. They may not be gaining area, and at the same time they're also losing a lot of refineries, and they are getting into a lot of trouble. So why all this? Because Russia has to feel like they're feeling the heat, that if we continue this thing, we are going to lose more things. So let's now sit down to talk. The main thing there that US wants is the rare earths that Ukraine has, and it is believed some of those areas are now occupied by Russia. So they need Russia to move out of that so that US will be able to manage that, so that they get rare earths. And once that happens, perhaps US will let Ukraine is going to be flattened, just like Iran is flattened. Ukraine will probably be encouraged to go and look to India with their technology. See, India can invest in Ukraine. And somebody has to clean up somebody has to refine the rare earths. I have a feeling that might be end up being India. So China gets rare earths in oxides form. It's not going to be able to, it refines it, so it gets its hands dirty. That somebody has to do. I don't think US will want to do that. So there is some interplay here. My opinion that don't be surprised by before the end of the month that there is a Russia-Ukraine also Memorandum of Understanding, we're going to call it, because Trump wants, in my opinion, the 250th anniversary of the founding of United States, which is July 4th, to be like, I did this, I did this, I did this. So...
Sure, sir. So, I would ask General Dushyant, sir. So, as Sree sir highlighted that, especially with the omission of Indo from the Indo-Pacific Command. So, how do you see it? Because whenever strategists study in India and we talk about Indo-Pacific, we usually talk about Quad, and we started from, okay, the command names changed to Indo-Pacific Command, and that is where we start. So how do you look at it?
Okay, so as far as this name change business goes, there are 2-3 views. First, I'll tell you about those 2-3 views. The first view is that it's symbolic. It's just, a name change. Nothing is going to change. Quad is going to go ahead as per trajectory. The other engagements which we are doing with Japan, South Korea, etc. will move on. With bilateral arrangements with Australia, etc. They would also be, carrying on. India will extend its influence right up to Philippines and beyond if required. So that is the first view. The second view is that, look, US wants to cut India to size, and so therefore they are, trying to slight India that way. I don't agree to this. My view is totally different. My view is that the US was under a stretch during the US-Iran war. It had, it had to look at the Russia-Ukraine front where they were not able to do anything. Israel-Hamas conflict has been going on. That has been troubling them. And then it was the US-Iran-Israel tri-party conflict which was going on. They had to move resources from PECOM to this place, and similarly from CENTCOM to this part of the region. I think a military planner always looks at things from how easy it is for him to manage his core responsibilities or core interests. What are the core interests for US in the Pacific? It's the US coast, it's the South Korea, Japan, that area. It is the Philippines, it is the Far East area that is of interest to them. So they feel that with collaboration with Australia and the US, they would be able to take care of that part of the Pacific. As far as the Indian Ocean is concerned, they are now convinced that the Indian Navy is capable of looking at least the North Indian Ocean. So if we are able to take care of the North Indian Ocean, from where most of the traffic, most of the economies of the world flows, they would be that much less strained. So there seems to be an internal, behind the curtain, some kind of an agreement that, look, Indian Ocean is yours. India and Indian Ocean are synonyms. And how do I say so? Recently we had the Quad meeting, and in the Quad meeting, one of the major, only agreement till now, a security related agreement, let me say so very, very particularly, is that, it was always said that Quad is not a security alignment, it's more of an economy, trade, etc., etc. But what was the first concrete agreement which came out is that India will take care of the maritime domain awareness of entire Indian Ocean. Yeah. And from where it is going to be done? It is going to be done from where Sree Iyer ji has just come to this podcast room in Gurugram. Right?
Yes.
We have a maritime fusion center which looks at every ship which is going around. Of course, there are ways and means to deceive these kind of arrangements, switching off your AIS responders, etc. But that notwithstanding, this confidence that Indian Ocean is the baby of India. So therefore, let me focus on that area. Indian Ocean will do this area. Piracy, so many other things are there. India has responded well. Even during the piracy period, the Chinese are not very active. They were just about barely managing to do some patrol. It was the Indians who were actually most of the time rescuing various ships, whether they were Indian ships or whether they were any other country ships. So I think it's a division of labor which has happened and nothing more than that. So it's a welcome step as far as India is concerned.
So your take on the same? Is it a symbolic shift or?
No, I think there is an acceptance now that India is more than capable of handling itself and also monitoring and policing this area. If you remember, when Somali pirates were contained, it was the Indian Navy that contained them much more effectively than the Americans. You need a certain amount of nimbleness and street smartness, or I should say water smartness to be able to do this thing. And India has really, really done well. Somali pirates are deathly scared of Indian Navy. This has been proven many times over. So it's just one of those things, you know what the other guy is trying to do.
So now that brings us to a bit further, and since we're towards the end of our podcast as well, but we'll take last 2-3 questions.
Yeah.
So the first would be beyond West Asia. So it is a US-Iran agreement, and yes, West Asia is involved, but Europe is equally a part of it. It also saw the implications of this agreement. So how do you see shifts in European priorities, or how do you see NATO's priorities shifting?
See, one of the larger designs of this plan I mentioned to you about Martin Armstrong's thing is an eventual exit of United States from NATO. He has said that we really don't need to put our nose in NATO anymore, that NATO needs to grow up. So one of the interesting things that came out in this recent attack of 500 plus drones, this is still being discussed on social media but has not become news yet, is that not all drones were launched from within Ukraine. They are saying some were launched from other countries such as NATO countries, which means NATO is beginning to feel like, okay, I like it or not, I need to do something about this. If that is the case, then again US is going to say, okay, I don't want to be part of NATO. But it's in a way it's good for NATO countries that non-NATO minus US, let's say, that we need to take care of our own backyard. But it won't stop there. I think I'm expecting something to happen very, very fast. It's that one of those things. Trump is very he's goal-driven. He wants something before that date. So just see, there are 10 more days. And by the way, another dead giveaway, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, his two trusted lieutenants for all these talks, they were at G7. They flew to Moscow. And then only this thing happened, accident happened. So they are sitting right now in Moscow. So something is cooking. It might be good for everybody, because if the war stops, everything starts coming back up. Things become normal. Reconstruction in Ukraine begins. That becomes, economic engine for Europe. So I hope that's what's going to happen. And of course, the Nord Stream pipe will open again. They'll go back to buying gas from Russia. There's no way that you can do anything else other than that. But at the same time, US will have it has forced petrodollar, meaning I'll give you a projection, right? Iran's oil will not be sold in any currency other than US dollars. And this will be settled in New York. Just like the way Iraq oil is not settled by Iraq. It is settled in United States and Iraq gets a cut of it. Same thing is going to happen with Iran also, I think. So let's see how it plays out.
Sure, sir. I would like to get Dushyant's point of view here, sir.
I mean, he's already laid out the basics of it. I would add 2-3 more factors why this deal might come through, the Russia-Ukraine. First of all, besides the military aspect of blowing off their refineries, Russia is in a very poor economic state. You see, what happened was, in between the sanctions took place on Russia, the oil outflow became less. It is only towards the end of the Iran-US conflict that President Trump gave this permission that, okay, India can buy the Russian oil. That was another factor, how India was able to actually save itself from that total economic collapse. So Russia needs economic growth as of now. Petrodollars, if they get choked, and the way it has its military establishment has guzzled up the funds, they have been actually producing ammunition 3 to 4 times more than the entire NATO combined for sustaining the Russia-Ukraine war. So smartly, the war is being fought more smartly by Ukraine than by Russia. So this economic factor may also make Putin hurry up for a deal. That's the only thing which I would like to add to what Sree Iyer has said.
So in addition to the Trump card that you were discussing, there is this one last curious question we have, which is that now that we look back and see the conflict as it started, and initially I see a lot of scholars and strategists around the world, they thought that the world was so interdependent that the war would never come. That is what was thought. But now that we've seen the conflict, sir, so my question is, do you think the economics of trade or the politics of oil has an upper hand when it comes to the military prowess of any nation?
Energy has always been one of the most important considerations. I mean, one can explain or one can say that Japan really didn't need to conquer Southeast Asia. The only reason they had to do that was because US imposed an embargo on oil. They couldn't get oil. That's why they attacked Pearl Harbor. It was more out of frustration than anything else. Having done that, they came into the war. But Japan kept going south, further and further, in search of oil. And so, oil is what makes the world go around. Even today, fossil fuels are still not completely out. And in my opinion, US has at least staved off the de-dollarization for maybe a decade. The reason being that they have their hands or fingers on 3 or 4 huge oil fields. One is US itself, which it doesn't use much. US wants to wait for the rest of the world to run out of fuel before it starts selling fuel. This has been a 100-year policy of US. So US can produce, Venezuela's it's under control, Iraq's oil is under its control, now it will bring Iran's oil under its control. So the only other alternative is Russia, and they'll find a way to coexist.
Sure, sir. So I would like General Dushyant's perspective.
Okay.
So when they say that oil is important, so what would your take be when nations are fighting for, they are in arms race. We are collecting defense. Yeah. India's Atmanirbhar Bharat, we are trying to domestically produce our defense equipment.
Absolutely.
So, sir.
Look, it's an egg and chicken story. Just to give a more clarity to what Sree Iyer ji is saying. But in this egg and chicken story, which is bigger? Egg or the chicken?
So that depends.
So my take is that I will end with one quote of Trump, and this is not in praise. This is not in some kind of a appreciation or something like that. It is the reality today. When he said during his election campaign, "Drill, baby, drill." I end here.
Yes. Yes. I think with that, we can end this podcast as well.
Thank
you.
you.
It was great having 2 eminent voices here on CLAWS Podcast Strategic Frontlines. And we at CLAWS remain dedicated to understand this framework as we go along. There are still many variables at play, we would agree. Pakistan, mediators, US, Iran, they are at Switzerland, and we'll be following it through. With this, we end this podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for
Namaskar.
coming
Thank
with us. Namaskar.
Jai Hind.